Pastor Carlos Concepcion Jr., how you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you, Pastor?
I'm doing good.
Always a pleasure.
No, to me, it is a great honor having you in our podcast. So,
Thank you. Thank you. I knew once you sent me that message, I was like, I'm doing it. I got to do it immediately because I know life can get really, really busy. But yeah, I'm here and I'm grateful. Thank you for the opportunity.
no, like I said, the honors mine having you appear in our Gonzalez podcast and coaching. So excited today because I know you have a lot to give. You see this pastor up here, he's got a lot to give. So I'm excited to have you up here. Tell me a little bit who's actually Pastor Carlos Concepcion.
Ooh, that's a loaded question. All
Yeah.
right, Pastor Carlos Concepcion. Well, I've been pastoring officially for a little over a year, about a year and a half, more over a year. But I've been involved in pastoral ministry for a good part of my life. Son of a pastor.
Mm.
My dad is not pastoring full time, but he still is very much involved with church. He's on the executive board. He still gives covering to churches and he helps out the church that he's at. When his pastor's gone, he's like the right hand. My uncle is also a pastor and he's still pastoring till this day in the city of Chicago. So I've been surrounded by a lot of pastors, but I'm the second generation pastor right after
Second generation.
and my father. But before my father even became a pastor, I was already caught up in ministry.
Okay.
Like I like to say that the ministry bug bit me very, very early. Like
Really?
I preached my first message when I was 16 years old.
Mm.
Between 15 16, preached my very first sermon.
Okay.
If you ever want to embarrass a preacher, ask them about their first sermon if you ever want to embarrass them. But I remember to this day, I preached about the call of Jeremiah. It was for a young people's service, youth service. I wrote everything down on a piece of paper. And when they called me up there, I read my text and I read off everything that I wrote. And that was it. And I get, in the name of Jesus, amen. I gave the mic up and I sat down. And my uncle, who was pastoring me at the time, he was like, you did a good job, but here's a couple things that we need to change. And it was him giving me the opportunity to grow in what preaching was, in what ministry was, that I started to become the preacher that I was. And then traveling with my father, who before becoming a pastor, he was again involved very much in the council, in the movement. He was the regional president of the men's ministry. And so he would have to go visit these churches. And it was like, you're coming with me. And when we show up, the drummer's not here, so you're drumming. And the piano player's not here, so I need you to play the piano. And the guy that was going to sing couldn't come with us, so I need you to sing. So I was exposed to that, like be ready at all times. And so that bit me really, really early on. And then God started using a lot of people while I was young, calling me out, calling my parents out, speaking to them very about, being very careful where I would go. Couldn't stay around everybody, couldn't
Yeah.
hang out with too many people because there was a call over my life. And at a very young age, I'm talking about dreams, visions, even being in church, seeing angels walk around and being at home and my blanket turning into a Bible and verses coming out of it. I'm talking about
Wow.
those types of things were happening to me when I was young. And so I knew, and my parents knew. And as I started developing, I'm 35 now. But as I started developing in ministry at a very, very young age, I mean, I'm 16, 17, 18 years old, and I'm going to school in the morning, high school, and then I'm in institute in the evening. And while everybody else was going to like track meets and football games and stuff on the weekend, I'm getting on a plane because I got to go preach in California or I got to go to Virginia or I went to Mexico. Over the summer, they'd ask you, what did you do? And I'm like, well, I visited these 5 cities. How? I'm a preacher. I travel, I preach. So it was something that I was exposed to very early. God had called me from a very, very early age. And then I started to, with the exposure of ministry, to get involved with other ministries. I'm Puerto Rican, bilingual. I dominate both languages. But because of being able to dominate both languages, I've been exposed to all types and forms of church. So I've been invited to speak at the very calm, quiet, just teach to me type of churches.
Really?
I've been to multicultural churches. I've preached in Brazilian churches with an
Really?
interpreter. I've preached in a church in Canada that they spoke French, English, and Spanish. So I was preaching in Spanish, but the translator was translating in French, but
Wow.
everybody was talking English also. So it was one of those. But I've also been to all African American, apostolic, shouting churches. They're screaming at you while you're up there, churching with them, organ and all. And then I've been to all types of Spanish churches, the charismatic, the laid back ones. And so I've worked with a lot of these ministries too, especially in COVID. We were traveling back and forth. I was living in Chicago at that point, but we would travel back and forth and work alongside a very great friend and minister, Pastor Mark Moore, who's got one of the biggest growing churches now in the city of Atlanta. But we were helping him with his Spanish ministry.
Really?
So we would fly in on a Monday. Most of us got there Monday night, and it was recording all day Tuesday, sometimes all day Wednesday, and then fly back because we all had to be at our churches, and I still had to travel on the weekend. And it was something that we were doing during COVID. So I've been very much involved in ministry for all of my life. I was born in a hospital but raised in a church. Pastors, kids, my parents, great people. I love them with my heart. I made the decision though when I was about 12 to 14
Yes.
to give my life to him because I never wanted to continue to share experiences with people about God that I hadn't lived myself. Like I would always tell a story, but it was never my story. It was always, well, I heard that God did this and that for so and so. And one day it was a message that I heard about having your own experience. And so I prayed that dangerous prayer. I said, Lord, I want to have my own experience. And so I was looking at a doctor who told my mother he should be in a wheelchair or 6 feet under
Wow.
because my appendix had erupted for days and I was going to school with a pain and sweating and throwing up and things happening. I went all the way to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's about an hour and a half. And my church, our worship team had to sing and I had to play the keys. And I remember setting up the keyboard and playing the whole set list. But then they had to lay me in a room in the back because I was just in an unbearable amount of pain. They rushed me back home and took me to the hospital and they submitted me into an operation that was supposed to take 4 hours and it took 7 because my appendix had erupted to a point where it was just tiny pieces. And the doctor showed my mom the x ray. There was just a wall of pus that was holding everything together. It was erupted, but it was still together. And he was like, I don't know how this is happening, but we got to take him in now. And
Wow.
my mom was like, I know how that's happening. We all knew that it was God. It was an experience because it showed me who my friends were. It showed me who real Christians were. It showed me who leaders were and weren't because there wasn't many people that came to visit me. I would wake up and my mom was there. My dad would switch with her sometimes, but I was in the hospital for a while and there was just a couple of people that showed up and it was an eye-opening experience,
Yeah.
but it was also my God experience. And so I took that and ran with it and I've been in ministry since then, but aside from being a pastor, I'm a father of 3 beautiful girls,
Girls, yes.
all
Oh,
girls, all girls. I got 2 preteens and a baby, 13, 12, 6. My beautiful wife, who we've been married now almost 15 years. In November, we'll be 15 years married. Even the dog is female, so I'm just surrounded by
you
women.
surrounded with.
I always say that I pay rent for a little space, but they own the rest of it, right? But I love my daughters, and they
Wow.
love what we do.
Of course.
They know what we do. We always have to have the conversation with them. Hey, remember your pastor's daughters, so you don't get the privilege that everybody else does.
Hmm.
Everyone's watching you, and I know you didn't ask for that.
Yes.
But in the meantime, just anything we tell you, listen to it because we're telling you out of a place of love, out of a place of wisdom. And so, yeah, I'm a father, I'm a pastor, I'm a preacher. I still travel to preach. My church sometimes doesn't like it, especially when I post my schedule for the month, and they're like, "You're gonna be at church on Sunday, though?" Right? I was like, "Yeah, I'll be there."
Sure.
So I'll fly a red eye flight or early flight, but I'll be there. But I'm also bivocational. So I have a full-time job. I work as a kitchen manager for those who are familiar with the Bradenton, Sarasota area. I am a kitchen manager of the IMG Academy, which is a school, but it's also a sports academy where everyone comes to train for
Yeah.
every type of sport. I don't know what the name of the sport is, but there's even the sport with the heavy ball that they spin in a circle and toss it as far as they
Yes.
can. We got that sport there too.
Oh
So,
wow.
but we serve in the kitchen there over 900, 1,000, sometimes 1,200 students, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I've been in the industry as a chef for probably 10 years
Oh really?
also. So
Wow.
yeah, I wear a lot of hats. You know,
You wear that has, yeah.
God's blessed me with the opportunity to study to be a Christian counselor, and I was doing that for a little while too. So that's a little bit about me. I'm very to myself. If we speak about like social, it's funny that God gave me all of these uh these hats that need to be wore around people, because if you gave me a choice to be around people or be at home, I'd be at home. I'm a homebody. I'm very to myself. I'm reserved. And a lot of people don't believe that when they see me stand up there on a
No,
Sunday and preach.
I'm actually surprised hearing that because you have a chance. I mean, as soon as you have a chance, you got to go and see him preach. I mean, I'm surprised
Yeah.
because you don't look like that style.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I seen you preach on it, and I told him already, he can flow. You know, when you have that floating on it, you can back and forth, constant, and the speed and the word, but you don't look. I'm surprised to be able to.
Yeah, I mean, if my wife was here, she'd be able to give a little light to that, because
Wow.
there's been times where we've traveled to go preach somewhere. I've
Mhm.
gone to preach, and she comes with me. And your pastor, you pick them
Yeah.
up at the
Yeah.
airport, and you start getting to know them. When you want to eat, you want to go to the room, all of
Yeah.
that. And that car ride, if my wife isn't there, it's very awkward, because it's like, "How you doing?" "I'm good." "How's the church?" "The church is great." "How's your kids?" "The kids are growing." Like it's very short, because I go to these places, just I got a mission, I got an assignment. I'll hang out, we can talk, I'll get to know you, I'll make the connection, I'll pray, "Lord, if this is something that's got to go further, then let's go further with it." But if my wife wasn't there, there'd be minimal speaking. I mean, there's been times where she's pinched me and she's like, "The pastor's asking you something.
Can you
Talk,
say something?
say something." Because to me, I'm very to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I think I can relate to you a little bit in that on it. Not as you, because you actually, I think you actually different up there on different level. But I'm the same way too. I'm a quiet person, but once I get into the station, I preach or teach whatever I gotta do, and once I get in, it's like something gets activated.
yeah,
Activated, and I just come into a specific mode, and I just start flowing.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's pretty impressive. You were saying that. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's me. I'm to myself, and that's how I've been. And yeah, you get into that mode. You get tunnel vision. You get focused.
Mm-hmm.
You're mission minded. You're assignment oriented. It's like there's people I gotta preach to. There's someone I gotta minister to. There's someone that needs to get
Yes.
saved. So
Yeah.
I can put all my feelings to the side. I can put all of my social anxieties to
Mm.
the side and minister to 5 to 50 to 500, because I was brought there for that, and I was saved for that. It was Peter in one of his epistles who tells the church, you were saved from something, you were saved from sin, but you were also saved for something. And that's to go and preach, to go shine the light, to go preach into the darkness, pull people out of the place that you were in. And so that's almost always how I go to these places. Like I tell my wife all the time when I land, I'm like, "Here it goes. Here's the moment that I never like. I got to get in the car." Sometimes it's people that I know, so I'm a little bit more open. But when it's with a church that I'm visiting for the first time, I was like, let me
You feel
see.
a little bit
Let me see
uncomfortable.
how long. Sometimes I'll map, how far is it from the airport to the church, and I'll be like, oh, it's just gonna be a 20-minute conversation. That's fine. We can do that. But yeah, I'm to myself. But I wear many hats, and I thank God for that opportunity, because there's some people that don't. There's some people that can't manage that. There's some people um, who can only do one thing good, and
Yeah,
that's fine.
yeah,
And we honor those who
yes,
can do that. But as the parable of the talents, there's some people who were given one, some two, some five,
yeah,
and so you just got to multiply what you have.
yeah. I know. How long have you been in pastoral for? A year and a half so far.
Yep, about a year and a half now. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And you actually came and partnered with Pastor Concepcion, right?
Yep. Pastor Jose
Yeah,
Concepcion, Casa Restauración Salem. That's the church
yeah,
that we pastor.
yeah.
House of Restoration Salem.
Amazing. But you take care of you take care of the English section.
Yeah, so in the way that we have it structured, or
Okay.
he has it structured
Yeah.
better, he's the senior pastor.
Okay.
I'm the associate pastor of the entire movement, because
Okay.
we have multiple churches, but I'm the lead pastor of the English ministry.
English. Okay.
So when we're in the Spanish movement and dealing with all of the other churches, I'm the associate pastor. But when we're talking about the English ministry, I'm the lead pastor
Okay.
of the English ministry.
Okay.
I've known him
Yeah, you know him for
almost about as long as I've been married, because
yes.
I had been married already, and my wife was expecting our very first child, and his youth came to a camp that I was preaching at. It was
Yeah.
a youth camp. He showed up the last day to pick them up, but he came early because he's like, I gotta hear this guy that's preaching to my youth, and he showed up, and that's where we made the connection. Afterwards, I was at my table. I think I was selling CDs back when people did that, and he came up to the table, and we talked about the message, and he gave me some encouraging words, and we exchanged information, and after that, the rest is history.
Yes.
And I think I had gone to his church since that moment, probably every year, at least once I've gone to his church. And when I went through some difficult seasons, I called him, and when he went through some difficult seasons, he
Yes.
would call me, and it's been like that ever since. And so when he called me and said, look, God's put this on my heart, and I've wanted to do this for a long time. I didn't know who, but then I now know who, and I
Hmm.
was just waiting for when. And we prayed, and I got multiple signs. God used people who didn't know us. I actually sent the prophetic word to Pastor, because I'm at this church. I was there supporting another friend who his church was celebrating their anniversary. And so the man tells me, "You stand up. I got a word from you, from the Lord for you." And he begins to say everything that he's saying. He talks about movement. He talks about packing bags. He talks about there's a phone call coming, there's a conversation, and careful if it hasn't already happened. He's like, "But the Lord is telling me to tell you, I'm taking you to a house of restoration." And when he said that,
Wow.
I they someone recorded the whole thing, and they sent it to me, and I sent it to him, and he played it right there for the entire board to hear. Like, that was the seal right there.
That's a
Like, we
seal. Yeah.
know
Oh my God.
we know that we're here. And that's a consolation for me, because it's been hard, and I know it'll get hard too later on, but I can rest on the fact that I know God brought me there. He brought me to that church. He brought me to this city. All of this was his happening. Anyone would be like, "Oh, I want to move to Florida." And we had said that too. But to know that God's fingerprint was on it, like he specifically said, "I'm taking you to a house of restoration." Every time it gets stressful, it gets tight, I just remember, like, he was in that detail. And God's never going to bring you to something that he's never going to get you through. It's encouraging to know that. Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. Yeah. It's amazing because of that's something that a lot of folks they still don't believe that God still speaks, or especially in the 21st century. You looked for confirmation.
Yeah.
This preacher
Yeah.
confirming, so that's pretty.
Yeah, and I think we got to be careful with that as a church.
Mm-hmm.
As a church as a whole, we have to be careful with that, because the Bible makes it clear that
Mm-hmm.
He still speaks. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
even if God never used another prophet, the fact of the matter is, the Word of God is Him speaking.
Mhm.
You cannot look at the Bible as a 2,000-year-old book only. I always tell people, I tell my church, the word of God is not what he said, it's what he's saying. God is still saying the very same thing. He says, I'm the same yesterday, today, and forever. The book of Hebrews tells us that at one point he used to speak through prophets and through other men and other women, but today he speaks to us through his son. And we understand that through the communication that we have with God and his son and the Holy Spirit, yeah, God still uses
Yes.
people. He can speak to us directly, but he
Mhm.
can also raise up people to speak through them. And we see this also in the Bible, talking about confirmation. Gideon,
Yeah.
he asked for multiple confirmations, and God did each one of them. We can dive into the fact that, yeah, it was showing a little bit of lack of faith or lack of confidence. And there's a time where you should be like, all right, I'm just going to trust God and take him at his word. But there's also some times in life where maybe you should pray for some confirmation and not just take a step in there. Because if you don't know how to distinguish the voice of God yet,
Mhm.
you could follow any voice and think
Yes.
that it's his voice. Perfect example is Samuel. Samuel heard a voice, got up,
Yep.
and he went to Eli and he said, "Hey, you called me?" And Eli's like, "No, I'm tired. Go
Good
to
calling.
sleep." And again,
Yeah.
heard a voice, and he was so used to hearing a human voice that he
Mhm.
couldn't distinguish, he couldn't separate a human voice from a godly divine voice. And the Bible tells us, for context, that he never had the experience. The word of God had never been revealed to him. If we could dive down that,
Yeah, again,
we
I
could
know.
we could go down that line, right? Where there's people who are in church who know a lot about church but nothing about God, because that's Samuel.
Yeah.
Samuel ministered in the temple. He slept next to the ark, and God's talking to him, and he doesn't hear, couldn't discern. But the Bible tells us that Eli finally recognized that it was God that was talking to him and told him, "This is what you need to do. If you hear the voice again, say, 'Speak, for your servant is listening.'"
Yes.
So he was able to understand that moment. Eli helped him. Eli coached him, right? He coached him into how to hear the voice of God and what to say when he heard that voice. So the Bible is evidence itself that God can speak to you directly, but God can also use other people to bring you a message.
Yeah. That's very impressive.
Mm,
Yeah. It's still God. So it means that God is still talking even to this time.
yeah,
And then, yeah, because I don't know, I just, I've seen this before. Oh, well, God doesn't talk. Oh, yeah, God is still talking. Because we've seen it. I see. I have experienced my own personal life. I mean, everything that I want to do something. Hey, God, can you just confirm this for
yeah,
me? I want to make sure if I make that move, that's going to be the right move.
exactly.
Because I don't want to make the move for my own self, my own flesh on it. I got to make sure, especially in business and ministry,
Oh yeah.
whatever you want to call, especially in business. Yeah.
Even relationally,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we got the example in the Bible of Abraham's servant where he's got to go and get the
Yeah.
son of his owner or his master.
Yes.
He's got to get him a spouse, and his owner gives him specific directions. Don't go to this people,
Yeah.
and don't go to that tribe. I need you to bring me a wife for my son. And what does he do? He goes out there and he says, "Lord, if you don't help me find the right spouse for my master's son, I'm gonna have a problem here." And he laid out some signs. She has to meet me at this well. She has to offer me water. She's got to give some water to my camels as well, and a few other details. And what happened? The Bible said that God blessed him. He prayed, "Give this journey success."
Yes.
And it was, we understand, if you look at the Bible through that point of view, that yes, there was arranged marriages and this was almost like a business ordeal, but
Mhm.
we're also talking about relationships, right?
Yeah.
That he was about to marry into this family and her into his. And so why not pray for something like that? Paul tells us that in everything we should be praying, right? We should pray without ceasing. And I was having a conversation with someone just yesterday. And he's like, I don't always close my eyes when I pray. I said, I hope not. Because if you're praying in the car and you close your eyes, that was the last time we saw you, right? But the fact that he tells us pray without ceasing, we got to understand that prayer isn't a position that I'm in. It's a posture of my heart. Like, I don't have to be kneeling to be praying. I could be standing and praying. I could be working and praying. I could be doing multiple things and praying, because At every moment, I should be putting God at the forefront, God at the center, God
Yes.
in the beginning and the end of whatever I'm doing. So yeah, that definitely looking for confirmation and prayer. It should be what we want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything that you want to, I think anything you want to, and also too, pastors. Sometimes you even got to be careful who you tell your.
Mm,
I mean, tell whatever you want to accomplish. This happened to me in 2014 when I then in September 2014 when I was gonna launch my own business, my own business. I reached out to three people,
mm,
told them about my dream. Oh Lord, I got beat. So I mean, they beat me up really hard because I knew that God gave me a dream to start my own automobile business, my own
yeah,
company. So I'm in fire. I mean, I'm going. Yeah, this is. I approached out to three. they, they're not my friends anymore, but back then they were my friends. I
yeah,
approached to them, three of them, and I told them I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do. I'm excited. And next thing you know, oh my god, they just gave me their own information. No, you're not gonna do it. You're gonna fund the process. And the problem is that back then, no, now I'm a different level, but I was vulnerable, and I gave permission to download that information in my mind.
mm,
Next thing you know, Pastor, guess what happened? I was against my own dream. Next thing you know, I was expressing myself. That's it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna fail. And I just started repeating whatever they told me. And I said to myself, wait a minute. And one day I had to realize, wait a minute, why I'm going something against my own gift that God is giving me? I said, wait.
mm,
Then I sit down and I said to myself, wait a minute. This person haven't accomplished anything. This one, forget about him. This one, wait a minute. And I say, and I had to kind of shake off myself,
yep,
reignite myself again, went back to my dream.
yeah.
I built a company for 10 years into this year that I stepped down. Uh, but sometimes what I'm saying is sometimes you got to watch it.
Yeah, yeah, because I think that nothing reveals more who is really for you than when you share something so special, so
Yeah.
vulnerable with them. Nothing shows how your maturity is also than like when you share something. What do I mean? Joseph, it's not, you know what got Joseph in problems? It was him sharing it. It was him sharing it because he was the one that had the multicolored coat, but it was his brothers who revealed themselves for real
Yeah.
because he shares what
So, yeah.
he's going to
Yeah.
do or what he's dreaming or what God is showing him. Because as a young boy who's got these dreams that he's never had before, why not share it with people and why not share it with my brothers, right?
Yeah.
But oftentimes we come to a realization that not everybody wants to see you
No.
not everybody. You were saying that and you reminded me and I pulled it up here just to get the right text, but Second Timothy chapter 4, Paul's writing to a young pastor and he tells him in verse 14 and verse 15, he gives him a specific name. He says there's a man by the name of Alexander who's a metal worker. And this man, Alexander, has dealt Paul a great deal of harm. Like
Mm.
he's opposed everything that Paul has been trying to do. And then Paul tells Timothy, I know that the Lord is going to repay him for what he has done. However, I need you to also guard yourself from him because if he opposed me and my ministry and what I
Yeah.
was doing, then he's definitely going to oppose you. And this was not Paul wasn't speaking of a place of bitterness.
Oh,
Paul was speaking out of a place of experience.
yes.
That there are some people that are with you, but they're not celebrating growth. They're
Mm.
with you, they're in your they're on your side, but they're not in your corner. Or they're in your corner, but they're not on your side. Right? And so oftentimes we got to be very careful. And we can go back to talking about God speaking to you. Not everything that God tells you, you need to go and tell someone else. Maybe God is speaking to you just
Just for yes.
for you to hold on to it. The Bible tells us that Mary, while Jesus was growing, there was a lot of moments in her life that Jesus would do something or say something, or the people would do something or say something. And the Bible writers always make this note. And Mary kept these things in her heart. There's just some things that you cannot share with
Sure,
people
yeah.
because not everybody understands it. Not everybody wants to see it. Not everybody's going to celebrate it.
Mhm.
Some people work out of a place of frustration. I never did anything, so I'm going to make sure that nobody else gets
Nobody.
to do
Yeah.
anything. And so those are the kind of people that you got to stay away from. Like if you're married and you're young, don't talk to people who are bitter in their
Yeah.
marriage because they'll always be like, how long you been married? 3 years, huh? Wait till you get to 15 years. That's when it's the worst. Like, how does that encourage me? Or a young pastor, you go to a seasoned pastor, a pastor of many years, and you say, man, I'm going through this. You haven't seen nothing. Wait until this happens to you or that happens to you. And how is that supposed to be encouraging, right? Because that shows you that they're living out of a place of frustration. They're living out of a place where they feel stagnant. And anyone who's moving, it's almost a threat to their own stagnation.
Yes.
So let me hold you back because I'm not moving just because I don't want to see you moving.
Yeah.
And so those are the type of people you got to try to guard yourself from, like Paul says.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is whatever whatever you want to do, consult it with God first.
Yeah.
If God tells you express somebody, that's fine, but just be careful, especially I don't know, just not everyone is out there to support you or just
Mhm.
guide you or give you the right advice on it. Just be careful.
Yep.
So what else, Pastor, you got? I know you got a lot to give some.
We were talking before we started, and I think, at the time of this coming out, we'll obviously be sharing it across every platform that the Lord allows us to be on. But I have a lot of young preachers that follow me, right?
Mm,
I'm a young pastor. I'm still a young preacher. I
yeah.
still travel. There's people that I cover personally, and I always get the question, what could I do to be better at my preaching,
Amen.
right? And I always tell them, number one, make sure that you're staying in the Bible. Don't
Mm,
go anywhere else. Yeah, you can get books, read them, let them be resources. I always say that the preacher that isn't learning can't be effective, so you got to keep growing in that area, but your primary source should always be the Bible. And I always have a personal issue with preachers, specifically young ones, who only study the Bible because they know that they have to preach. Like they got invited to preach Sunday, so
mm.
Thursday, that's when they start
Getting
looking for
ready, yeah.
something to preach. And
Yes.
it's like, no, no, no. You shouldn't be preparing for the opportunity. You should be ready when the opportunity arrives. I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said something similar to that. He said, I'll prepare and then the time will arrive. So there's two things that a preacher needs. They need inspiration and they need discipline. You need inspiration. It's happened to me. I know it's happened to you.
Yeah.
You could be having a conversation with someone. You could be listening to something. You could be reading something. You could be watching. I was watching a cartoon movie with my daughters once, and they said something on the movie. And I looked at my wife, and she's like, you got a message from that, didn't you? And I was like, yep. Because all we need as preachers is
Yeah.
inspiration.
It happens to me a lot, especially with the podcast. I'm doing something, something comes up. I got something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's all you need.
Yeah.
You just need inspiration. And inspiration can come from different
Yeah.
places.
You just finished in I mean, I'm very, very big in that. Actually, if you look at some of my YouTube videos that I have, discipline. Because when motivation is not there, discipline is the one that's gonna get you moving.
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
mean, motivation. That I know. Listen, I listen to a lot of motivation. I love motivation, but discipline, and that's the one that's gonna continue. Like Pastor was saying, don't wait until the last minute. Always be ready. For you to become the best of the best, you gotta whatever. If you are pastor or leader and you are in that space, make sure you dominate that space. Continue studying and get deeper in it. Ask God to give you always something else. What's next? What's next? I mean, push yourself on it.
Yep.
And the only way we're gonna push ourselves, we gotta go deep and keep studying. Whatever space you're in, if you're in the preaching or whatever,
Yeah.
make
You
sure.
you always in a group, in a
Mhm.
circle around people
Yes.
that are going to challenge you to be better.
Mm. Yeah, I'm big. I'm in big too.
You have to.
Yeah,
That's why when my wife met me, one day we'll have her on the podcast and
yeah,
we'll
yeah,
talk about couples. But when my wife met me, she was like, I just saw you around older people. Like you were just hanging out with pastors and preachers. And I was like, that's all I know. And I just like being around older people. Why? Because they are at a place that I'm hoping to get to. Like if I want to win, then I got to surround myself with winners.
yeah,
If I'm building an auto business, I don't want to be with people who've been in the restaurant
yeah,
industry. I want to be with the people who have been successful. They got longevity, they got credibility, they got connections. Those are the people that I want. The same thing translates to business, the same thing translates to relationship. Don't hang around miserable marriages. Hang around people who are traveling, who are hanging out, who love each other's company, who have been successful, who have gone through some things, but they're still together. Preachers, hang around with preachers that have been to places that you want to be. It's the only way. And you said something too that reminded me, don't prepare so last minute for a message. Here's how I look at it. You're going to stand up there on Sunday and you're going to give them two different types of meals. You could give them the slow cook home meal, or you could give them the quick microwave message. And a lot of times people are giving them a microwave message. They didn't take time to pray about it. They didn't take time to study it. They didn't dive into it. They didn't go anywhere else with it. It's minced up quick, pop it in. Here's the revelation, boom. And that was it.
yeah,
And it's like, how far can you get with a microwave message? How healthy
mhm,
could your body
yeah,
be if all you ate was microwave food? It wouldn't be. And we have to look at preaching and communicating the very same way.
yeah. You're right. Uh, this morning, well, this morning, 12 o'clock today. I had a meeting with my pastor, Apostle Lajun Cole, his wife Laura. Beautiful people. I know them about 13, 14 years. So we had a meeting this morning, and I love meeting with them because what they have. I mean, everything that I surround myself with them, I just keep learning because they're skilled, they're very humble, and I like to be around it because I love to collect data. I'm a data person. Actually, even right now, I'm collecting your data because your knowledge, even that I'm older than you, just the wisdom that God's giving you. And right now, doesn't have to be anything about the age,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it shows the environment because I have been in that space. I was a pastor before, so I know how to be in front of the congregation. I know how it is to be a pastor. So I was a pastor years ago. Then I got into the business. Business now I'm getting into the coaching on it. But I know that's why I'm so connected with past leaders like yourself or other. But for you to keep growing, upscaling, whatever space you're in, your business, a pastor or leader, you gotta find people that you're gonna feel comfortable. People that they're gonna inspire, they're gonna move you, and always be humble, respect them. And even matter of fact, I told him this morning, you can like literally, we can call him up right and ask him. I told him, Pastor, I just love being around you. You got so much to give in the kingdom, and
Yeah.
I just give me more because I want to keep. I'm
But
yeah,
that's called honor. And what people don't understand about honor is that the mantle that you honor is the oil you receive. So if I
amen.
can honor people because of who they are and what they carry, then eventually what they carry, I'll get a portion of it.
Oh,
And there's nothing wrong. The Bible tells us in the multitude of counselors there's wisdom.
yes,
And if you walk around with people who have bad habits, it's going to corrupt good character.
yeah,
So the best thing that you can do is be around people who have experience. They don't necessarily have to be older than you, but they got
the
experience,
experience.
right?
Yeah,
Paul told Timothy, you're young, but don't let no one despise you because of your youth. Here's how you can distinguish yourself from the rest of the young
yeah,
people. Lead by example in your words, in your conduct, in your faith, in your purity, in all of these things. Lead by example.
amen.
It's funny that we could be learning from the people that we're actually hating on. That's what some people don't
Yeah,
realize. You're envying someone, and your envy is cutting you off from lessons that you could learn. Like if I just stop looking at what you have and start looking and studying and how you got there, and learn from that, maybe my business would be successful too.
Yeah.
But I'm too busy counting your sheep for you, or I'm too busy looking at the stuff that you're posting, or whatever it looks like, whatever iteration of your envy it is. But I think we got to be careful with how we look at people and understand that we could learn from everybody if we were just open to it, if we were humble, like you said, if we were teachable, if we would approach people that way and say, look, for however long this relationship is, for however long this connection is, I just want to glean as much as I can. I just want to learn as much as I can. And I think our lives would be at a different place if we were always intentional with every moment that life gives us.
One thing that I always say to myself, every day I gotta learn something. If that specific day, if I didn't learn anything, it's like, to me, it's like, oh, I think I wasted uh, a day extra that guy just gave me. I got even something. I would try to find, okay, what I'm gonna learn today and go back, okay, revise it. Wow, okay. Even right now, this morning, I learned something. Right now, I'm learning something, because you gotta have that. You gotta have that open mind to
Yeah.
be, for you to be able to grow to the next level in life, business, whatever. You gotta have an open mind. You gotta be humble. So it is, I don't know, to me, and I think it will help you to continue with the dream, the purpose that you have, that we all have.
Yeah.
We all have it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be up to us how we're gonna receive it.
Yep. How we pursue it.
Not pursuing it.
Yeah.
Are we gonna let the ego get into the head on it? I mean, let me tell you something. I I can literally, and listen, and I'm gonna say this very humble, and I'm here, but I can literally, when it comes down to the business, I can literally walk into any place on it, and I don't have to mention my last name. People knows who's actually Gonzalez, because what I had developed for so many years in the ministry, as a pastor, as a business owner. I can walk into a place, people like, this guy got something, because what I have learned through let myself teach on it, be humble, listen, collect the data, and I don't have to be with a sign this big and all,
Yeah.
because it's just, this is what we should do as a leader. Uh,
Yeah. And I think the person who's always, it's almost like the father or the dad that's always saying, I'm the dad, you got to listen to me. That's showing that he himself doesn't believe in his own authority. It's like the person that says, I'm humble. You don't have to say it to be able to show it, right? So I think I'm a pastor, so I got to go back to all of our young preachers. I think that we need to be a little bit more teachable.
yes.
Like, one of the things that's wrong with this current generation
Mhm.
is that they have this attitude, this disposition of, I can do it by myself. I know it all. I don't need nobody's help. And I think that's the biggest mistake,
It is a
the
big.
biggest mistake you could ever make, because just imagine if with every new generation emerging, they had to start from zero. Right? Like, imagine once your generation was done, everything you guys learn dies with you. And then we appear and we got to try to figure everything out again. We got to figure out our own alphabet. We got to figure out our own number system. We got to figure out our own economy. Like, what our generation has to understand is that if we are where we are and as far as we are, is because we're standing on the shoulders of the generations that have been behind us. And so, yeah, we may be a little bit more creative than some of them,
Yeah.
but they got character. We may have energy because we're young, but they got experience. And if we would just connect those two things, my creativity, their character, my energy, but their experience, I think that we could take the world, we could take the church, we could take business to a whole different place,
Yeah.
because we're merging
Mhm.
both of those generations.
Yeah. I'm actually 54 years old. Just because I'm 54, I'm still learning. Yes.
Hmm.
So because I have an open mind, I don't have a fixed mind. Fixed mind kind of locks you up.
Hmm.
A growth mind, you gotta let it expand. So 54 years right here is still learning.
Yep.
I mean, every day I learn something. I think that's what is gonna keep you moving forward. But just I don't know, just that's my observation. Just be careful. Don't let it go to.
Yeah, never.
Don't let it go to. Just keep yourself humble. And I think, and I think that was I think that's what has taken you past a different level because who you are, you as a leader, what have you learned to since I met you a
Mm.
few years back. I'm always say, wow, this kid, I'll call you kid still because
Yeah, yeah.
you're 35 years old, but this kid's got up and I can see how far you have come in the ministry and your wisdom because God has given you a beautiful, beautiful wisdom and just who you are. So humble and even even when I went to church on Sunday, who you are, I don't know. There's something about just when you walk into a church and how people receive other people. And it just makes you part of the family. It's not like kind of up here. No,
No,
no. So
no. Yeah. Again, I've had the opportunity
mm,
to travel, and I've been to every type of church you could think of. And it's like you say, it's about collecting the data.
yeah,
I've gone to good churches, I've gone to bad churches, and I've collected the data. And I think that's something important to communicate to those who are listening, that every experience is a teaching experience, good or bad. Every relationship is a teaching relationship, good or bad. Every business will teach you something, good or bad,
yes,
because you'll take the good things and you can run with them and you can expand on them.
yeah,
But you'll take the bad things and you'll learn, even if
mm,
you learn in reverse. Those of us who didn't have a father, you could become a father just because you didn't have it.
yeah,
Those of us who never had money, we can work hard to make it
yeah,
and then pass it on to someone else because we learned in reverse what we didn't have. We put in the work to be able to have. And it's about also being okay with failing. I think those of us who don't fail don't learn. And I'm a preacher by nature, so take you to the Bible, Luke chapter 5. It tells you Jesus gets on the boat, Peter's boat. He's teaching, he finishes. He looks at Peter and he tells him, "Let's go deeper. Throw your nets in. We're going to fish." Now, if we look at it completely, if we look at the text completely, Jesus asked to use Peter's boat. Peter's boat is his business. And so Jesus is using Peter's business to do his work,
yes,
right? So that I could pause right there and I could tell somebody that you don't need a microphone to do ministry,
yes, right,
right? You don't need a platform to preach. You could use your cubicle, you could use your business, you
yes,
could use your platform. If you're a teacher, you could use the school. Whatever it is that you do, that could be your boat, but God's pulpit.
that's right. People think you have to be in the pulpit or pew clipper.
No.
No, you can listen. When I was running the business for 10 years, that was my platform.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to have people come to our shop. Sometimes we would stop right in the middle in the shop, stop on. We would take a few minutes and pray for people. That was my platform.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I used for 10 years on it. And people think you have beyond the pulpit. No, you can still use whatever space you're in. Yeah,
Yeah, whatever. Now,
yeah.
I have people in my church now that they have their own businesses, and that becomes their pulpit for
Hmm,
them.
hmm.
That becomes they come in early, they'll anoint the doors, they're playing worship
Hmm.
music,
Amen.
they're doing all of those things because it's their own space, but they're also dedicating it to God so that whoever comes in there, whether it's for a transaction, for a service,
Amen.
whatever they're there for, they still get a touch of Jesus. And that's why Peter gives him the boat and he preaches from there. But then when he's done, he turns to Peter and he says, "Let's go fishing." Now, Peter was okay with Jesus teaching, right? Go ahead and teach, go ahead and preach. But when Jesus tells him, "Let's go fish," Peter feels offended because you're a carpenter and you're trying to tell me, a fisherman, how to fish, right? So he answers him almost like matter of factly, upset, frustrated, offended. He's like, "All night we've been doing this, and that's not the only thing, but we didn't catch anything." Like, if I'm being honest, if my job description is go out in the night and catch some fish and I come back with nothing, I'm going to change my job because maybe I'm not good at it. The thing about Peter was that he was washing his nets, which is an indication of, I'm going to close out the night but I'm coming back tomorrow to try it again. And that's the thing. Peter teaches us you got to be okay with failing, but failing isn't final. You got to get back up the next day and you got to try it again. You failed in the relationship, restore it, ask for forgiveness, try it again. You failed at the business, learn from the mistake, try it again. You had some slip ups as a pastor, as a preacher, as a minister, fix it, look for the help, and go forward because you can still learn from there. And Peter learned. Peter learned you don't need a new strategy. You just got to make sure you got the right support because nothing changed about that moment. The net didn't change. The boat didn't change. The body of water, they were still at the same sea. The only difference is Jesus was in the boat.
Pastor, when I was running the company for 10 years, the ways that I increased the business after so many years, it was when I was failing in something, and I said to myself, "Oops, I made the wrong turn." I went back, revise it, retune it, and go back in. And next thing you know, that business. I mean, I can literally call my brother right now because my brother was with me for so many years, and he can tell you those moments. I went boom in the way that I would take to the next level. If I will fail right here, go back, revise it, and next thing you know, boom.
Yeah.
And the failure, that was my biggest. It became to a point of wow,
Yeah.
failure. It became in the beginning. It's like oh, it would make me feel better. Like, but at the end of the day, I say, wait a minute. I just gotta back and revise it. Look at it. What was the mistake that I did? Correct it. Move forward. Next thing you know, the business will go and increase, keep increasing, and I did it for 10 years, and I learned. I mean, I learned so much in my. I think I learned more in failure than my successful because you can go back and revise it.
Yeah.
Look at it. Okay, what did I miss up here? Oh, okay, now I know.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm gonna go back and redo it, and yeah, that this failure, failure is part of the become better and better. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, so where where's actually social media? You guys have
Yes.
social media ministry?
I have social media. I'm
Okay,
on every platform that's out there.
okay,
I believe most of them. Yeah.
okay,
So I have uh, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
okay,
We're also on TikTok.
okay,
I also use Threads. So
okay,
I'm on all of those platforms. And then our church also has a Facebook, YouTube, and an Instagram account. Yeah.
okay, okay. Okay. Address. Well, right now you're still in the school, right?
Yeah, so our church meets on Sundays and
Okay,
Thursdays. Thursdays we have a partnership with a local church
okay,
in Bradenton, and then on Sundays we meet there at the Manatee Charter School. English services at 10 a.m., Spanish services at 12 p.m.
okay, okay. Anything else you want to add to this, or
No, I think that's it.
okay?
I think we've shared a good amount, and my dad always said you always got to leave them wanting just a little bit more. As a preacher, he like just preach enough that they get what they need, but then they want to bring you back and have some more. So
You have. I'm telling. I feel very humbled,
thank you.
and I want to be honest. I collect a lot of data for you. I collect the data. I just learned so much from you, and whatever I collect up here, I'm gonna revise it. Wow, I can do that. I can do that. You just motivated me, and okay, keep making adjustments. That's how you grow.
Yes,
That's how
yes,
you.
yes,
That's the whole unit. That's the only way you grow. Get connected with other leaders, and just change your environment. And
yeah,
but to me, this is actually my space, so I
yeah,
feel so comfortable. I love it. People sees me up there. Before was it? Before was a pastor for so many years. That's why I can connect with
yeah,
with so many beautiful people, so much potential in the leadership environment as a
yeah,
pastor. Then I got into the business. Now I'm getting into my new space of coaching people, and of course, anybody that I coach, I got principles, I got
Yeah.
values, and I'm gonna say this very careful, but I have people telling me, just make sure you don't mix one thing with another. Say, brother, I would never, never be ashamed who I am, my principle, my value. Anybody that wants me to coach them, this is me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna make pretend. You cannot, you cannot build any. People think that you build something by yourself. No, you don't build anything by yourself. You need a team. You need God. You need especially him.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm very open in my faith, very
Yeah.
open in who I am as a leader, as a coach, and as a business owner. And that's one thing about when I was running the business. Just don't mix in God in your business. Oh man, actually, that was my best time.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
would mention God on it, and then it's a lot of time that time people to try to give me the credit. No, no, no.
Yeah. I don't want it.
No, I don't want no credit because I've never been a person that I don't move by applause.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not. I just not. I don't. That's not me. And I just you see a lot of people that move by good job, applause. Yeah, go keep
Yeah.
the applause.
And if you don't recognize them, then they don't want to do anything else.
Hey, me personal, don't apply. Just I tell people, I know what I got. I feel very confident who I am. I
Yeah.
feel confident who's Robert Gonzalez in my last name. Who I know what I built. I know
Yeah.
who what I'm actually walking with. I'm walking with the most highest God and the
Yes.
most powerful God.
Yes.
So that was me. I'm still me. And then anybody that wants to hire me as a coach on him, this is what I have.
Yeah.
If it's not, maybe not, maybe I'm not the right person for you for me to
Probably.
coach.
Yeah.
No, I think you just cannot be ashamed who you are. So,
Yeah.
don't I don't know, just don't fake it. Keep it real. Keep it. That's one thing about Yeshua, Jesus. I mean, he was amazing.
Oh yes.
He was amazing. Never, never, you never. He was a straightforward guy.
Oh yeah. He was compassionate when he needed to be
Yeah.
compassionate, but he was cutthroat when he needed
Okay.
to. He looked at his disciples. They told him, "You're preaching too hard." He's like, "Am I? You want to go with them then?" And he would look at the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and he'd be like, "You all are some vipers. You're empty tombs." And
Yeah.
he would not have an issue with being cutthroat like that, because he knew if he wasn't, then he wasn't going to be able to save them from themselves or do what he was supposed to do.
Yeah. And we can see what he did with disciples. He built them, got them to another level. Soon that he stepped back,
They took off with it.
they took off with the vision. So, um, good. Anything else?
No, sir.
If for any reason, if you cannot get a hold of the pastor, you can reach out to me. My social media, a Consulate Podcast. We have a website. I do have a phone number in my website. You can call me and text me. Hey, how can I invite Pastor Concepcion into my ministry? It's here. I have his phone number. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm there. I got a lot of data, but yeah.
It's a pleasure. It's a
You'll be
pleasure.
blessed. Bye bye.
Take care.